New immigration proposal lighting a fire under the right already. It's not just the numbers we're talking about 1.8 million, but also this idea the so-called dreamers could ultimately become citizens.
Over a period of 10 to 12 years, somebody does a great job. They've worked hard. It gives incentive to do a great job. But whatever they're doing, if they do a great job, I think it's a nice thing to have the incentive of, after a period of years, being able to become a citizen.
With Fox News politics editor and editor of the Halftime Report, Chris Stirewalt. How are you, my friend?
Word up.
Okay, so any surprises for you in what we saw outlined from the White House today?
I was surprised at how workable it looks. I was surprised at how, I mean, you have the start of something potentially big. You have potentially the beginning of, look, Donald Trump had a very rough launch to his presidency. And, you know, I think this is, interestingly, of a piece with the Mueller part. We've heard a lot of, oh, he was going to fire Mueller. He did not fire Mueller. His counsel got him to not fire Mueller. He did not do that. Yes, the White House was not honest about that. Yes, they misled everybody about that because there were contemporaneous reports, but they didn't do it. Part of the maturation of this administration and part of the maturation of this president is that you got to do something on immigration, because if the Republicans don't use this opportunity, don't use this moment, when they've got the White House and both houses of Congress to do something here, this will be around their necks forever. This will never, ever, ever go away. And the question now, and this is a fundamental question, Trump is obviously ready to deal. He's talking about these people, and guess what? The hardliners are right. This is a framework that could be expanded to the rest of the people in the United States illegally who are in but haven't broken other laws. So this is a pretty big matzo ball they've got hanging out there.
All right. Folks upset on the left and the right. Again, to dip into what Senator Cruz had to say, I do not believe we should be granting a path to citizenship to anybody here illegally. For some reason, that to me is utterly inexplicable. We see Republicans falling all over themselves to gallop to the left of Obama in a way that is contrary to the promises made to the voters who elected us. So he doesn't like it from the right. And from the left, we have this from the ACLU. Today, the White House released a hateful, xenophobic immigration proposal. Should be deemed dead on arrival.
But other than that, they thought it was great. Also, I believe that Nancy Pelosi has now just outsourced her press shop to a Twitter bot that just uses different incendiary, like Armageddon or death.
World,
everything is always the worst. You know, look, Cruz is running for re-election. I don't think he can get probably not. They're filing deadlines past. I don't think he can get primaried. But Cruz is obvious. This is why the Republicans are always in a pickle on immigration, because there's too much goodies for politicians who are willing to move outside. You got something, Tom Cotton, who wants to even reduce legal immigration. Tom Cotton is the hard line of the hard line. This is something Tom Cotton says. Ted Cruz, I don't know if he still has future presidential aspirations, but for whoever wants to, and we haven't even heard from the people in the House who are the super hardliners over there, there is still political advantage to be had in finding a space even to the right of Tom Cotton and Donald Trump.
Yeah, so let's talk about Tom Cotton, because he's one of the ones who's been really tough on this, as you said. I mean, he even talked about we need to scale back to legal immigration.
Yes.
And then today, this is what he said. The president's framework is generous and humane while also being responsible. I mean, if you got Cotton on board, I mean, he was one of the ones who was in the meeting that allegedly had the S-hole comments and where the folks who'd put together this bipartisan Senate agreement felt that they were kind of blindsided by the hawks.
And I'll bet that Cotton and Perdue had more than a little bit with writing of this plan. I would not be surprised at all to learn that they did. Question for Republicans is pretty simple. They have some good momentum finally going. They passed the tax cut. They won round one to the shutdown wars. If they cannot pass legislation, and I will state it simply and state it plainly, if Republicans cannot pass immigration, the way that they did, look at how it worked for them on the shutdown. The House has got to be able to pass legislation. They have to get all the Republicans together on something in the Senate, and then they can force the Democrats into action. If they tear at each other's throats right now, they will put themselves right back to where they were.
Okay, when we have various polls showing that across party lines, 70 to 80% of Americans say that they want some kind of resolution that gives legal status to DACA recipients. It could be citizenship. It could be something short of that, work permits, that kind of thing. We see plenty of popularity for that.
Permanent legal status.
What would it mean to the Trump presidency, to his legacy, if this got done on his watch?
Oh, it would rewrite the story. The story of the Trump presidency is rewritten if he is the guy that can finally solve what has bedeviled presidents since Reagan. How do you do this? How do you come up with a deal that works? And here's what his challenge is, that extremists on the left and extremists on the right don't want that 75% popular solution. They want either essentially no borders or no restrictions or draconian measures. Trump finding a way to bowl through and get there with the support of his base mostly intact, this is going to be a tough political maneuver, but it would be the defining thing of his presidency. It would change the narrative on a presidency that we did not at the beginning. We would have never said this is where we'd be today.
Well, and my understanding is the White House wants this to be introduced through the Senate side. We know what's looming over on the House, so we'll see if they can meet in the middle anywhere, because we know these are very different proposals at this point.
Light them up.
All right. You always light it up here, Chris
Happy
Stirewalt.
Thursday.
Great to have you.
Okay.